Aside from the oodles of documented cases where people who ascribe to the fully vegan way of eating end up with tremendous nutrient deficiencies and compromised immune systems that lead to higher incidence of illnesses, metabolic dysfunction, miscarriages, and more, we know humans are designed to eat animal products because God literally tells us to in Genesis.
Do you struggle to stay consistent with healthy eating and just want food decisions to be easy, guilt-free, and sustainable? You're in the right place. Hi, I'm Chelsea, nutritionist and fitness coach who overcame restrictive yo-yo dieting and body image insecurities using simple nutrition tools, all backed by biblical principles. And now I help women like you find that same freedom with food so you can feel confident in the look and health of your body for decades to come. I'm ready to dive in with you. So grab that cute notebook you've been hanging on to and let's go.
I know the health and fitness world is wildly confusing. Everyone has a different opinion, and it seems like everyone has success with something different. Except you. Nothing seems to work for you. Sis, I felt the same way when I was just trying to be healthy after becoming the heaviest and least healthy I had ever been. But I want to offer you a fresh perspective, and that's to do things God's way. Once I decided to treat my body in alignment with what the owner's manual says, aka the Bible, then everything just clicked. And now I have confidence and freedom with food and my body. And I'll tell you what, you can too. Seriously, join me in The Sustainable Way, my one-on-one nutrition coaching program, and I will teach you everything I know about how to eat God's way, consistently, without it taking so much brain power and effort. Head to coachrain.com/nutrition coaching, where I have even more details about the coaching process, a place where you can ask me questions directly, and even an I'm ready now button to get enrolled today. That's coachreign.com/nutrition coaching. And now, welcome to Nutrition for Christian Women. Keto, paleo, low fat, macro tracking, carnivore, vegan. What is actually right and healthy? It seems like every couple of years, a new diet trend makes its way around. And while a bunch of people see success with it, more often than not, it's not a method that we can stick to for the long term. And as soon as we stop adhering to the latest trend, all our success turns right back around, and we end up right back where we started, if not worse. I'll be honest and admit that I have been caught in this cycle a time or two myself. It is the worst. You think you have found the magic pill, only to realize you've essentially been scammed. I was neck deep in my paleo era when I started questioning some of these diets and their rules. I thought to myself, if bread is so unhealthy and off limits for so many of these diets, paleo included, then why does Jesus call himself the bread of life? Why not, the broccoli of life? Why does God provide bread to Ezekiel every morning before his 40-day journey? Why was bread part of the miracle of feeding the 5,000? I mean, this was just the tip of the iceberg with that train of thought. Anyways, I digress. That is an episode for another time. But all of that is to say, I have completely revamped my thinking on what is and isn't healthful nutritionally based on what we learn from Scripture, paired with deeply evidence-based science. And right now, there is a major emphasis on going vegan or plant-based or at least meatless. I'm going to pause here to make a quick note. I totally recognize that one of the main reasons to advocate for veganism or meatless eating is in protest of the inhumane treatment of animals, which I am fully on board with. But There is a way to give an animal a full, wonderful life while still fulfilling its God-given purpose to serve as fuel, participating in the circle of life. In fact, I have an entire section in The Sustainable Way where I teach my clients how to source their animal products well in order to be good stewards of all of God's creation. I just wanted to make that clear. I am not pro mass production of animals for profit, but I am pro eating what God said was for our food. So I wanted to take today's episode to cover why eating meat is not only healthful, but also quite biblical and ordained by God, the creator of our bodies. Aside from the oodles of documented cases where people who ascribe to the fully vegan way of eating end up with tremendous nutrient deficiencies and compromised immune systems that lead to higher incidence of illnesses, metabolic dysfunction, miscarriages, and more, we know humans are designed to eat animal products because God literally tells us to in Genesis. Turning to chapter 9, verse 3, it says, "Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything." So this is God speaking to Noah after the flood. The waters had receded, and Noah, his family, and all the animals he had saved on the ark were now on dry land, and God gave him instructions for repopulating the earth. The list of foods God gave Adam in Genesis chapter 1 in the Garden of Eden is now expanded to include animals. Of course, he does amend this list a bit later on when giving Moses the Old Testament law, but you can learn more about that in my book, The Guide to Eating Biblically in a Modern World, which you can snag a copy of on my website, cotrain.com/book. But the parallels between the instructions to Adam versus the instructions to Noah are incredibly similar, with the notable difference being the inclusion of animals in the second time around. This is the first verse that supports why humans should eat meat. The next verse comes from Exodus chapter 12, verse 8, which says, "That same night they are to eat the meat roasted over the fire, along with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast." All right, this is a part of the instructions God gave the Israelites during the first Passover. And in case you're unfamiliar, the Passover celebration is to commemorate when God sent the 10th plague, the angel of death, to take the life of every firstborn child in Egypt. But he spared anyone in the homes marked with the blood of a lamb, passing over them as the plague swept through the nation. So the Israelites got this command to sacrifice a lamb, eat it, then smear the blood over their doorframe, and the result was literally life-saving. If you haven't seen The Prince of Egypt, it does a phenomenal job of depicting this historical event. Highly recommend. And again, fully supporting the idea that people should eat animal meat. A bit later in Exodus, specifically in chapter 16, verses 12 through 13, we read, "I have heard the Israelites' complaints. Tell them, in the evening you will have meat to eat, and in the morning you will have all the bread you want. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God." That evening, quail came and covered the camp, and in the morning there was a layer of dew around the camp. Okay, here we have God speaking to Moses. The Israelites had just crossed the Red Sea, leading them out of slavery from the Egyptians, and now they were in the wilderness on the journey to the Promised Land. And despite seeing all the miracles God had done to save their lives, it wasn't long before the Israelites were complaining, mainly about being hungry. Sounds ridiculous, I know, but I don't think we're all that different even now. Blessing amnesia, I call it. So, what did God do? He heard his children and made it rain quail and bread. I don't know if that's literal, like falling from the sky rain, but nonetheless, God provided. And what was it he provided? Bread and meat, quail meat. He just handed them birds for nourishment in the middle of the wilderness. If that is not a testament that we are meant to eat meat, I'm really not sure how much more I can do to paint the picture. But I will give it a try. This brings me to passage number 4, and we are jumping all the way to the Gospel of Luke in the New Testament. Luke chapter 15, verses 23 and 24 read, "And kill the calf we have been fattening. We must celebrate with a feast, for this son of mine was dead and now has returned to life. He was lost, but now he is found." So the party began. This verse is from the parable of the prodigal son, straight from the mouth of Jesus. Parables were stories Jesus used to illustrate bigger ideas about how to live righteously according to God's standards. When he walked the earth, there were a lot of misconceptions about what God desired from us, and part of Jesus' whole purpose was to set us straight. Obviously, we're still struggling with that today, but his teachings most certainly created the greatest change of direction in all of human history. In the parable of the prodigal son, the father is so overjoyed that his estranged son returns home that he is immediately compelled to throw a party, including serving the fattened calf, which those listening to this parable in that time would understand to be a substantial symbol of joy and abundance. It was an expensive delicacy reserved only for special occasions worth remembering. God could have put that symbolism on anything: a ripened fig, the strongest wine, the purest olive oil, but he didn't. He used an animal. And if we weren't meant to eat meat, I don't think Jesus would have used it in his teachings about how to live. A pretty famous one at that. And the last passage I'll include in today's episode comes from Romans chapter 14, verses 2 and 3. It says, "One person's faith allows them to eat anything, but another, whose faith is weak, eats only vegetables. The one who eats everything must not treat with contempt the one who does not, and the one who does not eat everything must not judge the one who does, for God has accepted them." Now, this is the Apostle Paul affirming the freedom to eat meat and condemning the judgment of other people's diets. I wanted to include this passage because I do think we need to be clear. While the Bible clearly points to human design being to eat meat and animal products, not everyone feels that way. And as Christ followers, it is not our job to judge another person's personal choices. We can lovingly educate and guide them towards the word, but there is no margin for judgment on our part. This verse specifically can be interpreted as a metaphor, meaning that the stronger your faith, the more freely you will live life, versus the smaller your faith, the more inclined you will be to think small and limited. Neither group of people is to be in opposition to the other. And I think the metaphor can be applied to different diet camps as well. Just because I believe that humans are designed by God Himself to eat meat and animal products does not mean I have the right to cancel someone who firmly believes in a vegan, plant-based, or meatless diet. So I hope that whatever side of the fence you live on, you can continue to extend grace and kindness to your neighbors on the other side. There you have it. 5 verses from the Bible that support eating meat. If you've been questioning if going meatless is the path to health, I hope you found this episode to be enlightening. And as other questions about what's actually healthy and how to consistently eat that way come to mind, I invite you to join me in The Sustainable Way, my one-on-one nutrition coaching program where you get all your questions answered so you feel confident, not only in your body, but in your ability to steward it, and confidence that you are feeding your family in alignment with God's design. You can visit coachrain.com/nutrition coaching for more details on the sustainable way. And there's even a place where you can ask me questions directly. Can you tell I love answering questions? Or if you're listening thinking, say no more, let's get started, you can enroll directly from that page as well. That's coachreign.com/nutrition coaching. And I'll meet you there.
I pray this episode was helpful to you, my friend. If so, could you do me a massive favor and take 30 seconds to write a review? This is the best way to bless me big and help more people learn just how simple eating healthy consistently can be. And if you want more value-packed info from me, head to coachrain.com and sign up for the Weekly Harvest, my weekly emails filled with recipes, how to use food as medicine, biblical nutrition, and more. That's coachreign.com for the Weekly Harvest. Blessings until next time, sis. Toodles.